You know, a brand is so much more than just a logo or a catchy name. It's this powerful, invisible force that can literally change how we see the world and guide the choices we make every single day. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on what makes a brand so powerful, something called brand equity. So let's jump right in with a question that I think gets right to the heart of it all. Why on earth would food taste better just because of the wrapper it's in? I know, it sounds nuts, but it's true. There was this fascinating study where preschoolers were given identical foods, and we're not talking about French fries here, we're talking about carrots, milk, apple juice, and they consistently said the food tasted better when it came out of a McDonald's wrapper versus a plain one. Nothing about the food changed. The only difference was the brand. That's brand power literally changing their sense of taste. And look, this isn't just about kids. Remember New Coke back in the 80s? Coca-Cola actually changed its formula because in blind taste tests, it beat Pepsi. But when they launched it, it was a total disaster, a massive public backlash. So what happened? Well, it turns out the researchers made a huge mistake. As this quote says, they measured the taste, sure, but they totally missed the deep emotional attachment people had to the idea of Coca-Cola. The brand was way more than just the soda in the can. It was a feeling, a piece of who they were. Okay, so this powerful, emotional, perception-altering force, it actually has a name. Let's break down exactly what we mean by brand equity. It's all about the added value that comes with a name. So here's the formal definition. Brand equity is that extra, intangible value. It's not about the physical thing you're buying. It's about the whole universe of thoughts, feelings, and experiences that you have wrapped up in that brand. It's the reason you'll pay more for one white t-shirt over another, even if you have a sneaking suspicion they were made in the exact same factory. And for a company, you better believe that building that equity pays off. I mean, look at these advantages. Brands with strong equity get more loyalty. They can charge more money, which means bigger profit margins. They're also better able to survive a PR crisis. And get this, their marketing just flat out works better. It is a massive, massive competitive advantage. All right, so we get what it is, and we definitely get why it's so valuable. The big question is, how do you actually build it? Well, it really comes down to three key things. It's kind of like a three-step recipe. First, you've got to choose the right brand elements. The name, the logo, the slogan. Just think of the Nike swoosh and just do it. Instantly recognizable, right? Second, you have to design holistic marketing activities. That means every single time a customer interacts with you, from an ad to a phone call, it has to feel consistent with the brand. And third, you leverage secondary associations. This is a clever one. It's about linking your brand to other things that people already have good feelings about. If you want a brilliant example of that second step, that holistic marketing idea, look no further than the Mini Cooper launch. They didn't just run a few TV ads. Oh no, they did wild stuff like putting minis on top of huge SUVs at car shows, turning them into stadium seats, running these super clever billboards. Every single one of those things was designed to scream fun, agile, and a little rebellious. It just goes to show every single touch point matters. Now, that third step, leveraging associations, it's all about borrowing a little bit of magic. Brands can essentially borrow the good feelings we have for other things. Think about it. A celebrity endorsement, a made in Switzerland label on a watch, a sports team sponsoring a local charity. In all those cases, they're connecting their brand to the positive vibes we already have for those people, places, or causes. It's a very powerful shortcut. So I know a lot of this stuff can sound kind of fuzzy and emotional, right? But here's the thing. Brand equity is a real, tangible asset that you can actually measure. Let's take a look at how the pros visualize a brand's health. Okay, so take a look at this. It's called the Brand Resonance Pyramid, and it's basically a roadmap of your relationship with a brand. Down at the very bottom, you've got basic awareness, just knowing a brand exists. As you move up the pyramid, you start to understand what it stands for, you form an opinion, you start to like it. But the holy grail, the very top, is resonance. That's when you feel completely in sync with the brand. It's part of your identity. We're talking about the diehard fans of brands like Harley-Davidson or Apple. That's the goal. And here's another really cool tool. This grid is basically a health checkup for brands. It maps them based on two things: stature, which is how well-known and respected they are, and strength, which is all about their future potential and energy. Up in that top right corner, you've got the leaders like Apple. But the really scary part is that bottom right corner.
eroding. These are brands that everybody knows, but they've just lost their momentum. It's a super clear snapshot of who's leading the pack and who's falling behind.
And all this leads us to maybe the most important point of all. Building a brand isn't something you do once and then you're done. It's a continuous process. It's the long game of brand management. So once a brand is established, you're pretty much on one of two paths. On the one hand, you've got reinforcement. Think of your brand as a lighthouse. Your job is to keep that light shining steady and bright, always guiding people. On the other hand, there's revitalization. That's for when the light has started to dim, or maybe even gone out. You've got to figure out how to reignite it and recapture that lost magic. And make no mistake, even the biggest giants can fall if they drop the ball here. I mean, remember Nokia? They weren't the entire mobile phone market, but they snoozed when the iPhone showed up, and almost overnight, they became a relic. Or Sears, a titan of retail. They broke their core promise of quality and service by cutting costs, and it destroyed them. The lesson is simple: neglect is fatal. But it's not all doom and gloom. Brands can make a comeback. Cadillac was seen as a car for old folks for decades, but they managed to completely revitalize their image. And of course, who can forget Old Spice? They brilliantly went from being the aftershave my grandpa wears to this hilarious, weird, must-have brand for a whole new generation. That right there, that's the art of the comeback. So if you take one thing away from all of this today, let it be this: a brand isn't really a product. A brand is a promise. And it's a promise that has to be kept, constantly, creatively, and without fail. And that brings it all back to you. Just think for a second about the brands in your own life. The ones you buy on autopilot, the ones you'd recommend to a friend in a heartbeat. Which brand has truly earned your loyalty? And more importantly, why?